And it looks like that we are on Michael, on Michael, on Michael. We there? Happening? Excellent. Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show VCQ Live. Dan here.
Mick here, hello.
A little bit late, having some cable.
It's always a cable.
Oh, it's always a cable.
It's always a cable. Somebody had swapped the internet networks around.
We won't mention any names.
No names mentioned,
No.
Catherine. So there's me doing my nut because we don't have enough gigamegas.
Do you want to show the good people at home what that looks like?
What's that?
You doing your nut?
No, I don't. Is it focusing, Dan? It looks blurred on the thing.
That's me.
Oh, right.
It looks good.
Yeah.
So welcome everyone. A little bit of housekeeping before we get going. I'm hearing...
That was a comedy bong noise.
Oh look, it's Bebbers. Yes, bit of housekeeping. Please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. We're shallow, we need it, we appreciate it. Thank you.
We do.
Also, in regards to last week's show, I just want a massive shout out to Gordon Rankin, who's been a really good friend to us. And he's an amazing audio engineer, someone that I have regular contact with whenever I have any questions and stuff. He's always there with an answer. He's fantastic. Gordon built some of those buffers for last week's show. I've been talking to Gordon about doing the show, and he was helping me out with some of the ideas. And I said, what buffers should we include? And then he said, I built these. I've sent them out to you. And so the bootstrapped MPN transistor one, there's a JFET one. So Gordon from Wavelength Audio, thank you so much for your help with last week's show. Couldn't have done it without you. Really appreciate it.
Indeed. Thank you, Gordon.
Yes.
I think we did manage to get some of the specs wrong, but don't worry about that. Part of the course, isn't it, Dan?
It is. It is.
It is.
Well, what we'll do though, we'll go and I'll double check the description and make sure that's all happy.
Okay. Right. Welcome. For those of you who don't know, we do this every Monday. Live questions. We try and talk a little bit about Friday's show if we can, but it tends to veer off pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We prioritise the super chats, but we also dive into the main chat a little bit as well. Yes. Welcome. To wit.
To woo.
I don't know who we've got on tonight. There seems to be quite a lot of chat already.
We weren't here last week, were we?
No, we weren't.
I was, my son, bless him, came down with COVID. And so I was at home. My wife and I tested negative the whole way through. He was isolating in his room, but we thought, let's be sensible about this.
On the side of caution?
On the side of caution. And on Thursday, he tested negative.
Great.
And then, of course, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So here we go. All
Nice.
good. Yeah.
Obviously, your mic position is really annoying me, Dan, but
Why? It's bang on. No, because I'm 20 years. Great.
I think it's when you lean forward. Bit of brim on the old hat there, you see.
I see. Okay, fair enough.
Probably just made it worse. I was going to start doing a roll call, but there's about 15,000 comments even before anyone says hello. Oh, Wes Chilton. Good morning from
Hey, Wes.
rainy Los Angeles. Yes, it's raining here too, Wes, so we feel your pain. Greetings from Saratoga Springs. Happy VCQ, says Bartlett O'Shea. Saratoga Springs. Oh, Sacramento, says Magic Man. So we're all over the place. Dobster says the high watt's in perfect focus. You're not. Hopefully we are in better focus now. Yeah, you know what? I think you might be right. It's not focusing, is it?
It doesn't appear to be focusing. Michael Armstrong, hello from Pollock Pines, California. I haven't heard of Pollock Pines.
Could you, Dan, would you move just in a little bit, please, and look at the camera?
Hey.
There you go.
Good?
Yeah, just shift your... I don't quite know why it's deciding it doesn't want to focus.
Okay.
That's really quite annoying. Now it's found you.
That's fine. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. HRJ1411 says, any more experience days coming? So I think we've got 3 booked in and they're all sold out. The first one is happening this Friday, which I'm sporting my very own laminate for the experience days happening this Friday. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be great fun. Basically, we've got some people coming up, going to hang out with us for the day, going to show them around the studio, going to talk some pedal boards, play some guitars. Be really, really fun. So we will have some more coming up. If you want to know more about that, please subscribe to the newsletter. And if you go to thatpedalshow.com, all the details are there. David Rogel says focus is still off.
Yeah, it's not focusing. It's really annoying. Look at the camera down. Okay, good job we got manual focus, isn't it?
There we go.
I don't know. What if the contacts on the lens are dirty? Anyway, there we are.
I did shower this morning, so it can't be that.
It's a disaster today. It's a disaster. It's a technical disaster. Anyway, let's get on with it. Now then, the question I wanted to answer has already disappeared. It was the first question in, and it was, why do we always talk about 50s wiring? It's been answered fairly comprehensively in the comments section. Thanks to BV. Thank you, BV. So hopefully you got your answer there. Okay. 50s wiring, for anyone who doesn't know, it's usually refers to Gibson pickups, 2 humbuckers, but you can do it on any guitar, and it changes the way the lugs of the pot are wired. And if you've got old school PAFs and nice old school pots and caps and all that, it just gives you a more usable range out of the pot turnings, and for me anyway, it just works so much better on traditional Gibson type guitars. You can look at, rather than us explain it, if you just hit the internet and compare the wiring diagrams, you'll see that the lugs are just wired differently.
Yeah.
Prioritizes. Yeah. That's that. Right. Let's get to the super chats, Dan.
Indeed.
I think we're going to have to turn them off fairly quickly tonight by the looks of things.
It appears to have gone...
mounting up.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Okay. Give a few more minutes.
So, Jolly Willard is the first one
Hey,
in tonight.
Jolly.
Hi, Jolly, and thanks for your question. And he says, any tips for using the Hudson broadcast, at the end of a pedal chain? How would you set the low and high gain, 9 volts or more? Do any other gain pedals work well last as an always-on thing?
So you haven't mentioned what amp you're using. So it will all depend on what amp you're using and how you're setting your amp as to how you'll set that last always on pedal in your chain. Yeah, see, the broadcast for me, I love the edgy tones from the broadcast. But you can use it like almost like a preamp, right? Like a really glassy, beautiful,
especially if you hit it.
thing.
So I don't know if they all take 24 volts, but if you hit it with 24 volts and use it at its maximum headroom, certainly 18, then that would be a really great way to do it. It's got huge gain range. The second side, where if you've got the dual foot switch one, you access the second side off the foot switch. If you've got the single foot switch one, there's a big lovely switch on the top.
Lovely switch.
And inside there's a gain trimmer for the fuzzy. I like it really fuzzy.
Yeah, me
for the
too.
second bit. And I tend to set the first channel kind of just on the edge. So like Dan says, depends what amp you're using, but you just want to give the amp just enough love just to push it into a bit of overdrive. And it is based on it has a lot in common with a preamp channel strip rather than traditional guitar overdrive pedal.
It's such a cool thing that
I still use it like an overdrive pedal though, so I still make sure it goes before reverbs and delays and stuff. Otherwise, you're going to be distorting the reverbs and delays, which is great if you want that sound, but for a sort of more traditional approach, put it before your reverbs and delays.
or put it right at the end. Use it as the end of chain buffer.
Yeah, yeah.
Great.
So no real tips other than just be careful about, don't be careful. Be mindful of the amp that you're using it with and whether you want it to push that amp to get the amp really moving, or whether you want more of the overdrive to come from the pedal. That's just the sort of symbiotic nature of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Really good video coming on Friday that we shot last week on the Boss DS1, which was a total revelation for me. I've had one when I was young and really didn't like it, but we do some things with it which really explain why it's so cool, and that is a great example of that symbiotic relationship between amp and pedal, and why it's foolish to say this sounds like this does this, because you put it into a different amp and it is literally a different saucepan of Sasquatches.
It's very good.
Yeah,
it's very good. It's like an evening cooking with Greg Hott.
God, can you imagine that?
Yeah. That was a fun show to film, actually.
Rod Clark. Hi, Rod.
Hey, Rod.
He says, happy Monday, leg ends. Existential question of the day. I just finished a book on existentialism, actually. John Mayer through Jimmy Page's rig, or Jimmy Page through John Mayer's rig? Discuss.
John Mayer through Jimmy Page's rig every day of the week.
Yeah?
Yeah. For me, anyway.
Yeah. I think I agree.
Yeah. Not just I'd love to hear John playing on like old school cranked oranges and Marshalls and stuff. I think that would be incredible.
Would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Would be pretty cool. Brad Jackson. Hello, Brad.
Hey, Brad.
He says, hi, D&M. Thanks for all the inspiration over the years. Any thoughts on the other Nashville overdrive, the Ibanez Mostortion? Have you tried the Karma MTN10, which is based on it? Nice stop after the ODR1. Ibanez Mostortion, which must have been one of the other in that range, was it?
I don't know it. I feel embarrassed to say. Sort of MOSFET input distortion pedal.
Oh, I see. It was same as a TS10.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Body shell.
Yeah. At least they're reasonably priced.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not going to go up to the camera because the autofocus isn't working. Wow. So I guess the question is, how different is that to something like a Maxon SD9 then? Reborn as the Dan Electro Roebuck.
Okay.
No, we remain ignorant to that, I'm afraid. Brad?
Interesting, though. See,
still
learning stuff every day.
We are. At least studios kick me out anyway, which is good.
Boy, oh boy.
The revolution won't be on the internet, Dan, will it? Let's be honest.
No.
Let's be honest. Because it doesn't work long enough.
No, it doesn't.
For anyone to organise. Sorry if I'm a bit grumpy today. I'm not really grumpy. I'm just flabbergasted. It's 2021 and the flipping internet doesn't work. Really clever people will be able to work out what that password was, won't they?
No. I'm sat here looking at your type and I can't work out what it is. I'm sitting here going, who's Bolivia?
Rosie, 1, 2, 3.
Exclamation mark. Oh boy.
What are you oh boying about, Dan?
Johnny Love says, does Dan know he's picked up a funny shaped guitar? Yes. Funnily enough, Simon borrowed this guitar and it came back with flat wounds on it. And it sort of changed my relationship with this guitar. That's really, really cool. Really cool. Really cool. Scott Kaler says, someone give Mick a hug. Fist bump.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, mate. Thanks, mate. The internet needs a buffer, says Uptown Photography. think it does.
Cool.
I think it does.
I'm staying at yours tonight.
Any? Yeah, that should be good, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are we getting? Food. Okay, let's have a look. This is interesting. So a few people have asked about this. Charles Yane says, what are your thoughts on running a 29 pedals Una in front of the Orr Tomatone Preamp Mark II? Greetings from Miami. Loads of people have asked about the that pedal as a buffer, which is a really high quality buffer with some sort of switchable things in it, like I'm not sure if it's filter caps or different bright switches and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but it's a really great buffer.
It's also got some extra functionality like a switchable loop, so you can put your fuzz in the loop so that when you turn your fuzz on, it bypasses the buffer, that sort of thing. It's a good thing, but it's a buffer like any other.
Yeah,
and will have the same effect no matter where you put it in the signal chain. So,
watch my stuff says buffers rule. Now spell ACDC.
Come on, Mac, it's not that hard. Music Therapy Laz. I'm ready for my Monday morning TPS report, says Music Therapy Laz.
Very good.
Have you seen my stapler? It's just behind your monitor stand. That's where it always is. Where the monitor stand is, it's just behind there.
Unless someone, of course, has put it in a bowl of jelly and let it set.
Yeah. How I miss the office banter.
The office gag.
Jaboom! Jaboom! I recently got an Achenbach Artwork Harmonious Monk.
Oh, excellent.
Very cool. Thank you for buying that. Mine's on my pedal board, so I can't show you. It both looks and sounds amazing. Are there any pedals you like as much for their looks as their sound?
I love the Klon for its look.
Fuzz face?
The fuzz face, yep.
The Van Wilden Royal Overdrive, just because it's so ridiculous.
Yep. What else is there?
Any Union tube and transistor pedal?
Yeah, the CXM 978.
Any jam pedal?
Motorized faders, come on.
Any jam pedal? Yeah. Dan, you're on there. Any Thorpe pedal?
Yeah, the Thorpe pedal look fantastic.
Yeah. So let's turn that on its head. Are there any pedals that you use that you really like the sound of that you hate the look of?
Not really. I've got some stuff that looks really beaten up, which I love how that looks. You know, there are some pedals I think that's really good. I wish you'd have spent a bit more time on making it look nice. Yeah. I love the Golden Boy. I think that looks really great. Always like the look of T-Rex pedals.
Jupiter Effects, Electro Harmonics. Yeah.
BV saying, Dan, let's turn Super Chats off. There's loads.
Okay. I'll turn Super Chats off then.
That's a good idea. Thank you, mate.
Seeing as we've managed to do about 3 so far tonight.
Oh, boy.
Okay, if you've super chatted up to this point, we will answer. If you haven't, please don't, because it's being turned off about. I understand the implications of this action.
Interesting. So Tom Robinson says Pete Cornish aren't known for their exciting designs of the box. No, but you look at a Pete Cornish pedal and you know it's a Pete Cornish pedal. Therefore, I still think it looks really cool.
I really like that. I like that sort of... I don't want to say anything disparaging because I think it looks great. I really like the design.
Yeah.
I really like the design. Okay. Let's get on to Du Toro. Something to do with bull, is it? A toro? He says, hello D&M, greetings from Brazil. Using mixed pedal boards as an example of how a small true bypass switcher, such as a Gig Rig Quartermaster, would affect the necessity of a buffer. What would you do? Buy a buffer or a small switcher? So, to put that in context, what we did on the show on Friday, if you haven't watched it, was we started off comparing a load of buffers, which was fascinating in itself. Then we put together like a almost normal human's pedal board with 5 or 6 pedals on, all true bypass. And what happened was, when I plugged from the guitar into the pedal board out to the amp, there was significant capacitance in that signal chain and the tone was much duller without anything turned on.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're saying, Toro, if you add a buffer to that mix there, you bring that, well, depending on where you put it, but preferably you help get rid of that capacitance, as it were, or drive past it, or whatever phrase you want to use, so that your high end and your brightness comes back. There are other effects too. If I were to use a true bypass loop switcher, such as the Quartermaster, that would have a similar effect.
It does have a similar effect in that, well, it gets rid of any of the load and stuff from the pedals, but without anything on, you've still got the capacitance from the input for your guitar cable and then, the output cable.
You've still got the two cables. The only thing you take out with the true bypass switcher, as he says, is the whatever is happening through the pedals and the patch cables. So
which can be substantial, to be fair. There's true bypass and then there's true bypass, and so it all depends on that stuff. Like, lots of people have switches and use buffers.
Yeah.
Because they want to buffer that last cable.
Yeah.
If you're using a switcher and you always have a pedal on, it's like, for me, I don't have to have a buffer on all the time because I've always got a pedal on.
Yeah.
So it's always, I've always got some level of buffering from the low output impedance to the pedal I'm using.
Yeah. It's a balancing act, because that's my exact problem. I don't want to add buffers anywhere because I really, really don't like what they do to the high end of the kind of amps I use. But it might be that if the clon's on, for example, or if the clon's in line, then you get that anyway. So you've got to turn the bright switch off in the amp or just turn the presence down a bit. And I don't like that either. So it's a blimming compromise, and it's a really boring compromise to have to make. I would also say that if you run your amp a little bit bitey, i.e. so that it's going into overdrive, it's less of a problem because the treble's overdrive instead of sounding like a bright switch on a super switched on.
That's a really good point.
But yeah, it's a balancing act, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm.
And there are times, actually, you just use it to your advantage. There are times where that extra brightness is really, really useful. So, yeah. Yeah. It's so annoying. It depends on the pedals, is what we're saying.
Yep.
David Browning. Hi, David. He says, good day, gents. I have never been a fan of fuzz, but on Friday I bought a fuzz face and then an MXR blue box and a Topanga yesterday. My question is, where should the MXR go in my signal chain?
Ah, interesting. Well,
what's the blue box? Is that
the blue
octave?
box is, it's like it's a really interesting octave fuzz. Really cool thing about the blue box, it's got this sound in it where if you turn, it's like mixes between an octave and a fuzz, right? I don't like the octave sound, but if you mix the octave all the way out and just have the fuzz, I think it sounds absolutely killer.
Oh wow, 2 octaves down.
Yeah.
So it's an octave down.
It's an octave down, and you mix that in with the fuzz.
Cool.
I would have that after the fuzz. So the normal fuzz first, then the blue box, and then the Topanga. Topanga's a killer thing.
Yeah. There we go.
Yep.
G Barge, hello G.
Hey mate.
He says, I've been feeling deficient. We can't imagine that, G. We'll never be able to pronounce buffer like an Australian, trying to compensate by playing the Wildwood Mjolnir fresh off the waitlist. Maybe the best pedal I've ever heard. Wow. Nice. So Zach's obviously done some Mjolnirs for Wildwood.
Oh, cool.
The Mjolnir is a clon type, I believe.
I believe so.
Yeah. By Mythos Pedals. Zach makes lovely, lovely stuff. And
He
he's
really
a
does.
lovely, lovely man.
He really is.
So on his behalf, thank you, G, for buying that. Enjoy. Tom Bromby. Hello, Tom. He says, I keep an always-on reverb pedal, J-Rocket Boing, in the back of my Pro Junior. What's the effect of a buffered pedal at the amp end of a 35-foot lead? Also, who's buffer, Dan or Mick? Dan. Dan does 100 press-ups a day.
I used to, until I tore my bloody ligaments in my arm. So I'm on the rowing machine now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Have you got one of those wooden ones with the water, like Kevin Thingy?
I wish. I bought it at
Yeah.
the start of lockdown, and the prices tripled overnight.
Yeah.
So I ended up paying a fortune for this really average rowing machine. But it's okay. It works.
So obviously, if you've got all that and then the buffer, you've still got all that.
Exactly.
But don't worry about it if it sounds good.
Exactly.
I just wish we'd never done that show, Dan,
I
because
know what
we've
you
given
mean.
people a problem they just don't need.
I know.
Nobody worried about buffers before about 2 years ago.
It was so funny. It's like it was a really good show. Like,
It was a good show.
I really liked the show, especially the first half hour. I thought was really good. but then it's like, you know, a couple of some people that obviously hadn't watched the show,
Yeah.
and it's like, and some stuff they've written, I'm like, did the point make a sound as it went whooshing past your head?
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, there it goes. Yeah, but anyway, it's there. Never going to do it again,
Ever.
ever. I promise you.
The way to test that, Tom, is to stick it at the front of the chain just
Yep.
as an experiment and see. I don't know if J Rocket uses a similar buffer in some of its pedals, but the one in the little Echo, the Immortal Echo, is like, holy moly. That was
Yeah.
the one we did the test after my fuzz, wasn't it? And
Oh
it
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
boom,
Yep.
really significant.
Yep.
So yeah, try it in both places, Tom, and you should be able to hear it for yourself pretty clearly. Nimia, hello Nimia, says, evening, I've got an Echo Sex baby delay,
Lovely.
and even with no delay, it adds a lovely clarity and sparkle to my Strat.
Mm-hmm.
That's the buffer, right? Is there another pedal I can use for that effect, but with more tweak ability?
EQ.
Yeah, an EQ pedal.
There you go.
So what you're hearing, Nimia, is when the pedal's on, it's buffering the signal. All the stuff we discussed in the video on Friday, it's helping, it's taking all that capacitance away, or at least it's enabling your guitar to drive that capacitance much more easily and retain the high end. And as you say on the Strat, one of the massive things that happens when you don't have any buffers or you have long cables, you turn that down, especially with traditional single coil pickups, and all the brightness goes away. If you add a buffer into that signal chain, it stays bright.
Yeah. Stays a lot brighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what you're... So yeah, after that, if you get an EQ pedal, that too will have a buffer in it when it's switched on. So it'll do the same job, but then you'll be able to manipulate the EQ as well.
Very good.
Oh, Victor Gustafsson. Hello, Victor.
Hey, Victor.
He's from Sweden too, as was Nimia. Evening. Which of these two pedals should I get? Or at least would you use? He just says which two pedals. The Les Louis, which I believe is a love pedal thing.
Love pedal Louis. Very nice.
BD2, Blues Driver.
Mm-hmm.
ODR1,
Mm-hmm.
Truefi Color Driver. Why and in what order? So you've got to pick two of those. He runs a Tone Bender Mark II in front of the ODs into a 68 Deluxe Reverb reissue. Okay.
How loud do you use the deluxe? Everything changes from like between 4 and 6 on that amp. What would I use? I would get probably the ODR one. I think sounds lovely into that amplifier.
Yep.
And the color driver.
Yeah, be toss up for that and the Les Louis for me, I think.
Yeah.
Or Les Lewis.
Because it's got a lovely mid range, that Les Louis, which will be a nice boosted thing. But I think the color driver is a boost into a pushed deluxe.
Yeah. It's so great, the Color Driver.
Yeah.
It just does everything. If you're not familiar, it's a take on the old Color Sound Power Booster.
Power booster, yeah.
Which has a ginormous amount of headroom. And you can run it.
That's new.
What?
Ginagarous. That's really good.
It's also got bass and treble EQ, so you can run it like crazy bassy and fuzzy, or you can just have it as a massive high headroom boost and it does everything in between. It's a really, really great thing.
You've just named our fuzz pedal.
Yeah, Ginagarous.
Ginagarous.
I'm sure I've said Ginagarous before.
That's really good.
David Cummings. Hello, David. Nice to hear
David.
from you. He says, question. For the same amount of money, would you rather have a Dr. Z Maz 18 Junior Head and 212 cab?
Mm-hmm.
Or a 63 brown panel Fender 4x10 concert with 1965 ceramic Jensens?
63.
Absolutely no contest for me.
63.
The Fender,
Yeah.
every single nanosecond of every second of every minute of every hour of every day. Because I'm not a massive fan of EL84s.
Right. I am a massive fan of EL84s, and I still have the Fender because that amplifier is
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, that is a really wonderful thing, and if you've got a good amp tech, you can probably get it working again as well. Nice one, David. Whatever you go with, I'm sure you'll be happy, and thank you for your generosity. Sean Jones.
Hey, Sean.
Hello, Sean. He says, hello from Austin, Texas. Yes. I saw that Anderton's is now carrying Magnatone amps. I wonder if you might be able to borrow one or two and do a video on pedals that recreate the amazing pitch shifting vibrato. That's a great idea. I did not know Anderton's were doing Magnatone.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it would be really nice to hear some of the new ones.
Yes. Because we played a Magnatone when we went to ATB Guitars
We
in
did.
Cheltenham,
Yeah, it was magic.
and it was a religious experience.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, the Magnatone pitch shifting vibrato is a pitch shifting vibrato. It is actually vibrato. Whereas in the old brown face Fender amps, it was harmonic tremolo, which is something a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
It has been suggested that it's the same thing. It's not. It's a very different thing. And of course, Robert Cray very famously had the effect recreated by his tech that he uses in his rig because he loves that sound so much. That would be a really cool thing to do. Thanks for the heads up, Sean.
Yeah, great.
Aaron, Albus Band.
Hey, mate.
Hello, mate. Legends. Hope all is well. I'll attest to your brilliance as I watched the Buffer video and I enjoyed it, despite previously having no interest. Love you. We love you too. I think a lot of people fall into that general category, don't they?
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of comments going, wow, never thought I'd enjoy this.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it the delivery guy, or your plumber or someone who watches the show? And he said, oh, what's the show on this week? And you went, Buffers. He went, I'll give it a miss this week.
Actually, a shout out to Lloyd. Lloyd turned up to fix the boiler. Obviously, he turned the boiler on 1st of October and it breaks down. That's how that works. There was a knock at the door. I went to answer it and he's like, oh my God, it's you. So shout out to Lloyd. I don't know if you watch this, Lloyd, but if you do, thanks for fixing the boiler, and you're always welcome to pop round for a coffee, mate. Anyway, he said, oh no, I probably won't watch that. Goes over me head.
You know, they are. I love you guys. I watch you all the time. Oh, what's the show on this week? Buffers. I'll give that a miss.
It's totally fair enough. Justin Baylog. Hey, Justin.
Hey, Justin.
Great to hear from you. He says, we've been ships passing in the night or early afternoon this summer. No question. Just wanted to say thanks and let you know you're two of the best gents on the net. Nothing but love for all TPS. Thank you. Justin, thank you so much.
That's very kind, mate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's very kind.
The great Del. Hello, Del. Dan. Glad you could come to my LSO gig in Bath. Hopefully you can come to the new band too. Your turn next, Mick. So that would be Nathan.
That would be Nathan.
Hello, Nathan.
So Nathan very kindly sent us an invitation to go to see the LSO. So Nathan, stage manager for the London Symphony Orchestra, and there are a number of gigs, and I really, really wanted to go because I love seeing orchestras. It's such an amazing experience. And Nathan kept offering, and I'm like, oh man, I would love to go, but unfortunately I had, stuff going on. But I said, please, if it comes up again, I didn't want him to think I was brushing him off. Please, if it comes up again, and it came up, and it was like, I had something on. I'm like, no, cancelled.
Yeah.
Grabbed Teen, and we went out and saw it. And
it was Simon Russell as well, wasn't it?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, if you go and see a really good symphony orchestra, with 4 double basses there, and what I loved about it, you had every age range was accounted for. You know, really young, brilliant to more mature musicians, right across the board, and the way everyone just sort of gelled and played together was so beautiful. I couldn't work out what Simon the conductor was doing. I was trying to, I'm trying to see, because it wasn't about keeping time or anything like that. It was about, about these emotional flourishes that the symphony would just go whoa, and it was unbelievable.
Conductors, please drop some knowledge on Dan about what conductors do.
I know what they do, but I'm watching his baton and I'm going, because we're quite close to it. I'm just trying to work out what's going on as far as timing is concerned. I was like, no, I got no clue. But it was, what was really interesting is seeing these musicians, right, at the absolute, some of the greatest musicians in the world on that stage.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh man,
it's a different thing.
It's a different thing.
Yeah. And Nathan, likewise, thank you for your generosity in offering tickets. My life stopped when we got the dog, and we're just coming out the other side of it now. We're doing things, dog
again.
Plus COVID.
Yeah.
Just meant end of all social life, and it's just starting to do things again, or at least starting to think about doing things again.
Yeah,
which is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
would be great. Feed my bongos.
Oh, very good.
Can you recommend a great Mick-esque drive pedal that would pair well with the Strymon Iridium for headphone playing? Okay, by Mick-esque, I'm going to assume you mean like mid-humpy tube screamery.
I think that's a fair assumption to make.
The D&M drive would work really, really well with that, and then you get a bit more as well to plug our own pedal. But I do think it would work very well for that.
Yep.
Bog standard TS Mini, if you want something a bit more affordable, we really like the Mini Tube Screamer.
Yeah,
it
sounds really good.
There have been occasions where it sounds almost identical to my fancy ass Keeley modded one.
Yeah,
my favourite one. In addition to that, if you want to splash out, the Kingtone Duelist is unreservedly recommended.
Yeah, amazing.
All the time. It is just a truly spectacularly good dual overdrive pedal. Yeah, I'll leave it there. J-Rocket Archer I would always recommend as well. A bit more clonny, but is really lovely. So good luck. Any of those will work nicely into the Iridium.
Stanislav Migra says, how is that pedal dog? Long time no see.
Rosie's great. Thank you very much for asking.
She's lovely.
Yeah, she's really good. She's turned into a dog now, no longer a puppy as such. And is much, she's great.
She's wonderful.
She goes to daycare on a Monday, so that's why she's not here. Prog Doggy, hello legends.
G'day, mate.
No question, just a quick thanks for helping to keep me sane these last 18 months. Not just the show, but also the creativity it has helped me spawn.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
That's wonderful.
That's really good. That's the best possible outcome, I would say.
Yeah, totally.
Dave Oshman, hi Dave. Matt Schofield last Wednesday, Joe Bonamassa Saturday, tonight Ace Frehley and Alice Cooper.
Wow.
That's a rip-roaring week you've got there.
Man.
Have you ever been to an Alice Cooper gig?
No.
It's fantastic.
We saw him though when we were in LA.
Yeah.
We saw him at it's not Hollywood Boulevard. What's the one where all the shops are?
Yeah, down there.
Beverly Hills somewhere.
Yeah. Oh God. You know what we mean. Rodeo Drive. I went to see him when I can't even remember who was playing a guitar now. It was flipping brilliant.
Was he using the BC Rich Mockingbird?
The guitar player?
Yeah.
I'm really embarrassed that I can't remember who was playing guitar because we hung out and got really drunk afterwards.
Because whoever played the solo on Poison
Yeah.
with that BC Rich Mockingbird, I love that.
Oh, and I think there's been a few guitar players since then.
Right.
Pete Friesen, actually. Pete used to teach at ACM, and he played with us for a long time.
Right.
Oh, God, it's going to do my head in that I can't remember the guy's name. We literally sat two up in the front seat of a small car, absolutely smashed in Cardiff. Just... Anyway. David Rogel. Hi, David. What's your go-to placement for mics relative to the centre of the speaker cone? Are there certain mics and or speakers that you use different positions for? Thanks.
I ask Mick about this all the time.
For the great videos as always. It's so interesting, David. We keep learning. You know, the more we do this show, the more amps we mic, the more different microphones we come across over the years, the more we learn. It is such an interesting experiment. If you can be bothered, get a little trolley or something, like one of those little camera dollies. They're about 10p on Amazon, and it's got like little skateboard wheels with really nice bearings, and attach a mic to it, and set up a loop, play a loop into a looper if you have such a thing. So it's the same thing playing over, and just pull that microphone all the way across the centre line of the speaker, so it goes from the edge right to the centre of the dust cap, all the way out to the other side, and be astonished at the difference in tonality at about 2 inches away. Obviously, the further away you get with the mic, the less it matters, because you're hearing more of the speaker a bit further back. So to answer the actual question, we've used a number of mics over the years at TPS. The most recent have been the Sontronix Delta 2 ribbon mic, which is a ribbon mic. That thing you can stick right on the centre of the dust cap.
Yeah.
And that is a really good position for it. It has a flat frequency response, although we think it sounds a little dark.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really lovely sounding thing. More recently, we've started to use Austrian Audio OC18s, which are on the amps back there. They are a kind of reimagining of the classic AKG C414. Now, a lot of people wouldn't necessarily use a large diaphragm capacitor microphone on a guitar amp. It's much more common to use a dynamic mic such as a SM57, Sennheiser MD421 is a really famous pairing. And then you can have them like pointing directly at the speaker, or you can have them what's called off axis, where they're slightly angled in. And the purpose of doing that on an SM57 is partially to reduce the bass problem that you get. There's a term for it, where the mic's so close to the speaker that it causes diaphragm of the mic to boom.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember the term for it, but
Boom,
anyway,
boom.
it doesn't matter.
Big bassy boom boom.
So it really depends. And honestly, 10 minutes spent listening and moving that mic around will get you to a place that you're really happy. The go-to spot for TPS with the ribbon mics, as I said, is right on the centre of the dust cap. With the OC18s, it's usually bang in between where the dust cap joins the main cone of the speaker and maybe out a little bit.
Right. How far's a little bit?
3 or 4 mil.
Okay, so a tiny bit.
Yeah, and
Right.
if you move it another 3 or 4 mil, you'll be astounded at the difference in the sound.
That's amazing.
Again, so we are currently about, 4 inches off the amp.
Ah, proximity effect.
Thank you, proximity effect.
There we
Thank you
go.
very much. We're about 3 or 4 inches off the amp. Grill, maybe 3. And obviously, the further back you get, the less critical that positioning is, and the sort of broader frequency response you get out of the speaker. But then you get all sorts of other problems, like it's quite hard to get any bass going if you move the mic back a long way,
Right.
etc.
Interesting.
It is endlessly fascinating, and despite all the IR technology and all the brilliant stuff out there, there is nothing like putting a mic on a speaker. And if you've got a 4x12 cab, I also guarantee all the speakers will sound different. So it's just worth spending some time moving that mic around, listening, and deciding what you like. Yeah,
Totally.
sorry, I'm really interested in stuff like that.
Yeah.
I
Wonderful.
find that really interesting. Connor Larkin.
Hello, Connor.
So one final thing, if you can be bothered, get 2 mics. Tim Pearce explains this better than anyone I've ever heard it explained. Two contrasting mics on the same speaker, and what you can do is you can mix those microphones, and it really gives you strong control over the mid-range character. So you wouldn't necessarily have them both at the same volume. You might decide you like this one predominantly, and you mix that one in at about like minus 15 or dB, something like that. And it'll just fill out that mid-range in a way, and then if you do it like that, it'll be different. And it's a really good way to shape it.
Awesome.
Yeah, like doing that. Sorry, Connor Larkin. Hello, Connor. He says, Connor Larkin. Evening, gents. I have a Lone Star, but I'm looking to add a more British amp without dropping a fortune on something like a 2061X. What do you recommend? Connor, try your Lone Star will take EL34s. And that second channel is definitely more British flavoured. Try it. I mean,
that's a really good.
Unless you want to use both of the amps concurrently, of course. But definitely try that. I mean, Andy Timmons was a big fan of doing that, and they developed the Stiletto Deuce for him, didn't they? Which was part of that whole series.
Okay.
Don't think they do it anymore. Anyway, whatever.
I remember when we were in New York and we saw Andy play. And I was helping him take out the 6L6s and put EL34s in his amp. Like, I'm special. But I love that Mesa. Is that right? Am I saying that right, Mesa?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I love that Mesa have incorporated the ability to do that in their amplifiers, because it's a really cool thing to do. If you're running the amplifiers loud, then it actually makes a substantial difference to feel as much as anything.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yep. Try that. So apart from the 2061, good British sounding amp. Victory makes some nice British sounding amps. The Sheriff 44, still, pretty sensible money. What else do we like? Thing is, used Marshalls are really affordable.
They're really affordable, and it's really
a good price.
They are. It's hard to go past them.
Yeah.
Because they all have a thing. They really do.
Yeah, they do. Again, lots of the nice Marshall-y type amps from brands like Tone King or Friedman.
Cornell.
Cornell. Cornell is a great shout. You can pick up used Cornells, pretty sensible
and Dennis
money.
Cornell is a flipping genius.
Yeah, definitely
really
check those out. But again, it's all serious money. If you're looking for something a really good value, check out the Bugera range.
Yep.
The insanely low prices on stuff. We've got a little 5-watt thing. Sounds great. Yeah.
Cool.
Try that. Michael Thornburg. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Michael.
From the United States of America. He says, greetings, leg ends. In the US, we call the ends of our legs toes. Seems simpler. Jokes aside, I appreciate the show immensely. I saw Buddy Guy and Ali Venable on Friday night in Anderson, Indiana, and it changed my life.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, because I really, really want to see Buddy Guy. Because up to this point, I'm looking for a way in with Buddy.
Right.
And
I like the early chess stuff best.
The early chess stuff, yeah. A few people have said that. I'll need to have a look at that.
Yeah, really great.
But I know a number of people have said they've gone to see him live. And the same with... you mentioned him just before, actually. Robert Cray.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing with Robert Cray.
He's great.
Because some of his recorded stuff, I'm going, I'm not there. I don't quite get it. But I know 2 people that have said they've gone to see him and they simply couldn't fathom how amazing he is.
Yeah, I went to see him a few years ago when he was doing a UK tour. I think I did an interview with him, actually, and we looked at his rig and everything. And he's the real deal.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah. So I'd love to go and see Buddy Guy and Robert Cray live.
Last time I saw Buddy Guy, Dan, I was in Maryland, and Carlos Santana was there as well. And I was looking at Carlos Santana's Dumble. It was really cool.
Very good. Very
It was
good.
at a Paul Reed Smith event quite a few years ago now.
Wow.
Yeah.
PJR says I saw Buddy Guy with the Stones in NYC. Wow,
Nice.
lovely.
Mark Lavinish. Hi, Mark.
Hello, Mark.
He says, can you touch on the finer points of where to put my Analog Man envelope filter? Seems to be affected in a big way based on position,
Absolutely.
i.e. put it in the effects loop versus first in the chain. Oh, don't put it in the effects loop.
No. It's way no.
Please don't put it in the effects loop.
It's designed to see the coils of your guitar. Put it right at the front. It should be the first thing. Now, that's where you start with it. It might be that you have a really light compressor or something going into it, but after drive pedals and that, there's way too much information going into it for the trigger to be consistent. I would say you start with it right at the front, and then it may be after a light compressor, but that'd be the only two places that I'd put it. It's a cracking sounding envelope filter.
It really is. We should get ours out.
I used it on that solo that Paul Davids asked me to play.
Oh, yeah.
I used it on that.
We are talking about doing a sort of a fun show with wah-wahs. I've been a bit rude about wah-wahs in the past, despite absolutely loving them in my former life.
All right.
And we thought, well, let's give the wah-wah a bit of love and just see it. It would be good to throw that in the mix.
Yeah.
Paul Matulovic, hello, Paul.
Hello,
he
Paul.
says, I'm doing some damage control for a past comment. I think Paul might be feeling bad about something he said that we had misunderstood. He says, the fellow from Polyphia was joking with Rick Beato when he was talking about Boomer Benz. Going to Scotland, hope to be over for experience days sometime.
Oh, lovely.
That would be really cool. Maybe we probably got a bit. I get a bit defensive when people call us boomers, because my dad's a boomer. I'm not a boomer.
Yeah.
Eric Clapton's a boomer. Not a boomer. We're Gen X.
Yeah, Gen X.
Anyway, it's all good, Paul. What does Dave calls them Ernies, doesn't he?
Ernie.
Yeah. Ernie.
So at Dave's very first ever XTC rehearsal, and I said, "Play a solo, Dave," and he starts going, and Andy Partridge goes, "No Ernies in this band. I never want to hear an Ernie again." Dave goes, "What's an Ernie?" And then he goes, "Ernie, Ernie, Ernie, Ernie."
Yeah.
So that's it. So you'll never hear an Ernie in an XTC guitar solo.
We should check out the origin of the quote, but I'm assuming like a boomer bend is where you bend up to the root note. Is it?
Or
is that a boomer bend?
I don't know. I had assumed that someone was taking the mickey out of boomers, not bending up high enough, going.
Oh, I see.
See, I think that's so really cool.
Microtones.
Microtones.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Could be. Anyway, it's all good, Paul. Thank you. Brian Paul. He says, howdy from the scenic city, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Imagine coming from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
All that choo-choo.
Yeah. Where'd you come from? Swindon.
I don't come from Swindon.
It's like Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's so romantic, isn't it? And there's a song about it. Anyway, he says, I figure an ABY pedal would be the way, but how do you go about setting up wet, dry, wet with G3?
Wet, dry, wet. So you need a third output. So humdinger and a loop before your stereo pedals.
Yeah. Same way we used to have to do it in G2 with wet, dry. Dedicate one of the loops to a humdinger. So it goes out of, let's say you go drive, 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 humdinger, into the humdinger, back into that loop, and the other output from the humdinger goes off to your dry amp. You can put another pedal in there with it as well if you want, but you need to think about the placement of it, whether you want it before or after the split, and then off to your stereo stuff for your wet and wet out of outputs 1 and 2.
Indeed. Lovely.
Yep. Brian Paul.
Hello, Brian.
We've just had Brian Paul. That was you. George Radcliffe. Hello, George.
Hello, George.
He says, I recently started exploring the looper features on my Keeley Echoes.
Cool.
I find that my tap in and out timing is inconsistent at best. Do you have any tips to improve that skill?
Oh, man. You know what? If you keep going with it, you will get better.
Just be Pete Honoré. Be Danish Pete. Then you'll be good at it.
That's good advice. Good advice.
Now, this is interesting, right? So I find on loopers, not all of them engage the loop at the same time.
So that's one of the really tricky things because, sometimes you'll press it and it'll start recording a microsecond after you've pressed it, and then you you've turned it off, bang on, and it's like, The worst one for that is the it's like not an analog one. That was from
the Lo-Fi Loop Junkie.
The Lo-Fi Loop Junkie, because I used to use that
ZVEX.
at Spirits gigs, and I had to come up with a way to sort of try and
Preempt
get
it.
it on. Oh man, that was really hard work.
I think the best place to start is to count strongly. Most of us play music that's more or less in 4/4, or at least 6/8. But most rock music is 4/4.
Mm-hmm.
So, or at least find something that is 4/4. Play something that's 4/4. 4 beats in the bar, and 1, 2, 3, 4 on. 2, 3, 4 off. Practice that for a few hours. You'll be there.
Yeah. It's just practice. It's all it is.
Yeah.
You will get better at it.
And I do know people who don't start on beat 1 as well, which confuses the heck out of me. But
1, 2, 3.
yeah,
4.
because they find it's easier if you start partway through a bar.
That's how prog was born. Oh, my new album's all based around that. All right, the looper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. There we go. And what's that?
How many potatoes?
It's in 17/8. Just go with it. It'll eventually come back around to being on the 1.
Yeah, so do that, George. It might even help you to have a metronome going, which could also be a horrific mess, but...
Yep. Gordon Rankin says, I had the lo-fi and commented in an email to ZVEX and Zachary. Zachary called me and we had a good chat. He is a brilliant engineer. He is an absolutely amazing engineer. One of those engineers that is also really creative. He's not just about the math. He can be super creative with the way that he approaches things. That candelabra phase thing that he did. I mean, just as an example, if you don't know what that is, just go and look it up. ZVEX candelabra phaser. Wow. Yeah.
Amazing artist. An amazing artist. 40 Watt Podcast says, I'm still riding high from seeing Jason Isbell at the Ryman on Saturday night. Real amps, rock and roll, incredible venue, and unbelievable musicians. Happy days.
Boy, oh boy.
Happy days. Good for you. He just brought out a very interesting album, actually, which I assume is new. Load of covers.
Really?
Yeah, he does some really interesting cover songs.
Doesn't do like a Taylor Swift album from start to finish, does he?
Not quite that.
Right.
He does Sometimes Salvation by the Black Crowes in a very similar manner.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. Some really unusual stuff.
Awesome.
Anyway, Jason Isbell on the 400 Units new record. Gary Varner. Hello, Gary. I finally built my first legitimate board. 9 pedals, proper VicP, and my musical growth rate cannot even be charted. Thank you for everything, boys.
That's amazing.
Good on you, Gary.
Yeah. There's nothing quite like finding things that you connect with for you, to get you inspired to play. We've already recorded this show, but I've sort of latched onto this new, it's not a new approach, but it's a new for me approach. And I am just loving it. I haven't felt so inspired for years as far as guitar tone is concerned.
He's cranking the amps a bit more.
Just turn them up.
In short.
Yep.
There's quite a lot of that on the show on Friday, which is...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's really
nice. Good on you, Gary. Enjoy that board. Noah Bottimer. Hello, Noah. He says, my 50s Vintera Strat was warbling badly and felt clumsy. I went up a gauge of strings, decked the bridge and dulled the fretboard. Entirely different guitar. What changes have some of your guitars demanded?
That's interesting.
Yeah, that is a thing on Strats, that if you play in a certain way and the bridge is floating, you just can't get away from that warble.
Yeah.
But if you have a lighter touch and you approach the guitar in that way, it's not a problem, and there's plenty of great players who do that. But if you are a bit of a thwacker, it is an issue. All right, Dan?
Yep.
You enjoying my vocab today?
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, so what changes? That's a good example of a guitar that had a change that made Dan like it.
Yeah. Some flat wound strings on. I couldn't stand this guitar originally. Well, because I loved the Jazzmaster, and I thought, well, we'll get the Jag to match it. Got it, and I was so disappointed. It sounded good.
It just needs a really good setup.
To play, it was like,
Yeah.
Simon took it away, put some flat wound strings on it, and now I just love it. It sounds magic.
Yeah.
And I thought the flat wound strings would make it sound really dull, and it doesn't.
I think we should do a show on these guitars, actually.
Okay.
Because both of them are lacking. Like, I don't think the pickups in the classic series 60s are
So how we can make them
that good. Let's
awesome.
get them. I always enjoy it when I play it, the Jag, but the Jazzmaster. But I think it could be so much more engaging. And is that roundabout?
Yep.
Another thing that might surprise you in Friday's video is the Casino.
Ah, my goodness.
Through a belting Marshall, an absolutely hammering deluxe.
That was as good as any sounds.
And
it was so
Boss
amazing.
DS1.
Yeah.
And that guitar has been so radically transformed by those Lola P90s and the wiring loom.
Yeah.
It is such a cool guitar now, where it was essentially unusable before. So
that's a great idea for a show. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to, what do they call it? Pimp My Ride?
Yeah.
Pimp My Offset.
We did Pimp My Pacifica in Guitarist magazine once.
How did that go?
Good. I set fire to mine, obviously. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
And enjoy that Strat, Noah. Glad you're loving it. Glad you're loving it. Austin M. Hello, Austin.
Hello,
M.
Austin.
He says, thank you for your awesomeness. I mostly play clean, but I'm looking to add a subtle overdrive or boost that is responsive to my picking attack. I play a Collins i35 LC. Yes, you do. Into a Magnatone Twilighter. Yes, you do. Oh my God, that's a blooming grown-ups rig. Cool. How lovely. Any recommendations? Yes, we've got a couple.
Yes.
The Nobles ODR one.
It's really good. The Analog Man Bob Boost.
Bad Bob
Boost.
Yeah.
Ah.
It's really great.
So good.
Really great. I don't think you can go far wrong with Nobles ODR one actually for that.
Yeah.
Other things that we would always recommend for that job would include the Greer Lightspeed.
Yeah.
And actually,
magic sounding thing.
J Rocket Archer, which is a Klon type. Again, just a bit more of that niceness. None of which add a massive EQ or compression change, because I'm guessing if you play clean, you like the response of the pick attack and everything. What you don't want is introduce a load of clipping and compression and overdrive pedal stuff, which just makes it sound small and fizzy. Hudson Broadcast.
Awesome. And the Benson preamp.
Yeah.
You know, there's a couple of those things that just sound really great. Headroom is the big consideration with those things. Yeah.
Nobles ODR one.
Nobles ODR one, yeah.
Yeah, I think would be a good shout. Good luck.
Good luck, mate.
256k.
Great.
Remember when you used to have that much RAM?
Yes.
After 10 years playing left-handed, left-handed reversed strings, So wrong and wrong.
Double negative.
Yeah, which makes it a positive.
There you go.
Right, of course it does. He says, last month I decided to get a proper lefty and relearn everything the right way. It's much better. God, that's making it hard for you, isn't it? That's making it hard for yourself.
It's interesting. Who's like? We talk about the left-handed guitar player, Eric Gales. Is it Eric Gales?
Yes.
Because he plays basically a right-handed guitar upside down, right?
Yeah.
And he pulls out some stuff that I've never heard anyone play before.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it's got to do because it's in such an alien position, right? You are essentially
A different position, Dan.
well. So to me,
No pejorative
Sorry.
comments, please. Especially about aliens.
for the stuff that we go to all the time, it's right there under the fingers. To do that as a lefty with an upside down that, you've got to basically as if you're playing on the bottom strings.
Can I hit your hands with a ruler?
What again? Yeah. I used to practice left-handed just for my coordination, and I didn't do it very well. It was just interesting because you come up with different stuff. If you know, even just melodically, if you could just grab one note and start doing the stuff, it's really interesting.
I do get that.
But boy, it feels weird.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, mate.
Good
That's
luck.
great. Well done.
Yeah. Yeah. Who was I discussing this with? We were talking about handedness. It's Rob Antonello,
All right.
our designer, or he's not our designer, but he designs for us. And his son, one of his sons, is just learning to play, and his son's not quite. I think his son's like 4 or 5 or something, and he's not quite sure which way he wants to hold the guitar.
Oh wow.
And we had a discussion that, you know, it is interesting, isn't it? Because ostensibly, I wonder if it comes from
Still Michelangelo Battio.
Yeah.
His first guitar. Merry Christmas.
I met him a few times.
We saw him
Yeah.
at was it the Rainbow?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was sat at the bar.
Yeah. It's like, whoa, that's Michelangelo Battio. Anyway,
Sorry.
I did, because it's a bit odd, isn't it? Like, once you learn the guitar, you realise that this is the intricate bit, or potentially is the intricate bit. And you would think that you would use your right hand for that because it's, I don't know, stronger or more nimble if you are indeed right-handed. However, I wonder if with kids, they think it's all about that.
But it is all about that.
Well,
it totally is all about
the
that.
truth is it's all about both, isn't it? But I wonder if the sort of, you know, when you go to kick a football with your foot that's the strongest foot, you do it because that's what you want to boot the ball the furthest with.
Right.
And that's when you're, you know, right-footed in this instance. I wonder if kids looking at the guitar think it's about that.
Interesting.
And that's why they go right-handed, because they think they do the thing that they think it's about with their strongest hand. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Anyone throwing rotten fruit at the screen right now? If you're
It's your own screen.
Yeah, if you're a handologist or an ambidextrologist, just
Very, yeah.
yeah.
A digit.
Sorry, I'm still not sure about that.
No, don't.
And you can breathe
either
underwater as well.
Either
yeah.
way, to be fair, you don't have to.
My dad taught me to play, says Ian Fan. We've been playing for 20 years. I lost him 2 weeks ago this Wednesday.
mate.
How do you get back the desire to play when you can't play with those who inspire you to play? Well, Ian, first off, we're really just sorry to hear about your dad.
Yeah,
Blimey.
mate. Sorry to hear about that, buddy.
That's yeah. Oh, God. It's tough, isn't it? I guess you start by doing it in his memory. Because for damn sure, he's not going to want to stop playing.
Mm.
And then, I don't know, that's a tough one.
I've had periods in my life where I've been less inspired to play, and I think all of us have, you know, been through that to a lesser degree of.
I've been in one for about 10 years.
And sometimes finding your way back in can be really challenging.
Yeah. I guess at the risk of a platitude or a cliche, you know, one door closing, another opening is so true. And a healthy way to look at anything that is negative is to go, okay, well, in every negative there's an opportunity for something new. Now, obviously, he's just gone, so it's not like you can just turn on a sixpence and go and do something else. You've got to go through that whole thing, but there'll come a time where that opportunity to do something new presents itself. And I think that's, you know, I think that's good advice for everybody and anything. When something negative happens, it's like in everything that goes wrong, there is an opportunity, always. And it might be that when the time's right, when you feel like it, some sort of different direction or a new guitar or a new style or a new song to learn might just kick you off down another road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, mate. Well,
and all the best to you.
All the best to you, buddy.
Yeah. Chedhead. Afternoon, chaps. Afternoon, Ched.
Afternoon indeed.
ATB Pop. You guys ever get a new piece of gear or finish a mod repair and just feel underwhelmed by your own playing, even though the gear does what you want?
Like most of the time. Underwhelmed by my own playing. Totally. Very rarely do I play anything and go, yeah, nailed that. That was awesome.
That's about expectation versus reality, isn't it? And quite often, the best experiences you have in life are those that you don't expect them to be the best.
Right.
So, as it relates to gear acquisition syndrome and the endless flipping brain work we do on new gear, new pedal boards, new amps, and oh, this will make me better, you know, God, I wake up most mornings going, oh, if I just move that to there, and maybe I do need an Analog Man modded DS1 after all.
You really do.
After the show you're going to see on Friday. And then I always think like that about if you order a custom guitar. Anyone who ever's ordered a custom guitar, you dream about it. It's going to be the best thing I've ever got, and you get it out of the box and you're like,
That's another guitar.
What then needs to follow is a period of acclimatization.
Yeah.
And you just need to let time take its... You need to let time do its magic work.
Yeah. Yeah. I think many of us can relate to that. I had a custom telly made from all the best bits and the best pickups and everything. It's a pig. It sounded like an absolute pig.
Nothing wrong with pigs, mate.
Yeah. But sometimes, you know, the magic bits of wood come together that you wouldn't expect. To pick it up and go, whoa, this is special. There's...
For the first week, I didn't like my 2-rock as much as my old 2-rock.
Okay.
Because I didn't know how to use it.
Right. And then it clicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Took a minute.
Yeah.
Took a minute.
Well, when I got red...
Yeah, right.
That was a pig.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with pigs.
No.
Let's stay off the pigs, shall we?
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
What's that from?
Babe.
Oh, yeah.
But now it's one of the best guitars I've ever played.
Yeah.
You know, and that took years and years of just bashing it around.
Yeah. So time. Time is what you need, ATB Pop. Jeffrey Raddick. Hello, Jeffrey.
Hey, Jeffrey.
What do people mean when they say an amp is quick? Experience with my own amps gives me no idea. By the way, hello from Boise, Idaho.
Boise. Is it Boise?
He died recently.
Boise?
Boise from Only Fools and Horses. Hello, Marlene. I think his name was Jeffrey, come to think of it.
So...
What do we mean by quick amp?
Okay. When an amplifier is dimed, right? There's a thing that happens when you got your preamp, and that's turned up and it's letting a lot of signal through, and then that's hitting the power amp. When the power amp is dimed, it's amplifying that signal to such an extent that, you know, when you hit a big note, often the transformer will start caving in, and the speakers will, you know, if it's inside like a 4x12, everything starts to cave in, and it sounds amazing. But what will happen is, it takes us, you know, a microsecond for that to sort of come back to being neutral again. had a really wonderful conversation with Phil X about this. And he's saying, you know, with his old Marshalls, when he cranks them, he says it's the most amazing sound. But he says you've got to learn to play the amplifier, because you can't play the same stuff that he does on his Friedmans with a dined Marshall, because it won't take those really crazy fast passages.
Yeah.
But it's an amazing sound. And actually, you'll hear a bit of that on Friday's show, when things that, you know, that amazing cranked amp compression, where things just sort of cave in a bit on themselves. It is a massive part of the power amp overdrive sound. On the other side of that is an amp that's got a really quick response, where everything sort of happens. A good example is like a Fender Twin set really clean. Everything is working really efficiently, so you can get back to that neutral point. Like, you know, you're right there. Nothing. You don't have to wait for anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the various elements in the signal chain that could add, it's compression, really, isn't it?
Yeah, compression and limiting. It gets that point. Compression.
You know, like a tube rectifier, for example, could
Adds a sag.
Could feel less quick. I would definitely associate it more with clean sounds than overdriven sounds. But the more powerful the amp, the more efficient the speaker.
You associate what with clean sounds?
Quick,
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Because there's a transient relationship there as well, isn't
Exactly
there?
that.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
So, yeah. What quick amps would we think of, Dan? I always think of Voxes set clean.
Voxes
with
very
blue
quick.
speakers.
Yeah.
But then, of course, as you turn it up and it starts overdriving, much less so. Any sort of really good Roland Jazz chorus
Yeah. That's a good clean.
would
Good.
fit that for me. Yeah.
You know, you can get quicker dirty amps, but it's a balancing act, right? When you have your amp designer, and they, you know, one thing I did with my J20, my Laser J, and I've only just recently started doing this, talking about turning amps up, right? I was at home trying something out, and I thought, because it's got an attenuator on my amplifier, and I thought, gee, I wonder how it sounds if I just dime the amplifier and turn the attenuator down, because whenever I've used the attenuator before on the amplifier, it's had too much effect on the response of the amplifier. And I've always wanted that amplifier to be as clean as possible. Yeah. I thought, no, what I'll do, I'm going to crank it. I'm going to turn the attenuator like full on. And this is at home, in my little room at home. So it's, you know, it's still loud, but it was an absolute revelation. And that...
not quick.
Not quick.
Yeah.
And you end up playing completely differently, because the amp forces you to do things to take your time a bit.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to... That is not going to work with that sound, you know. Or that sound. However, it's the amplifier that is into that level of limiting, it creates these amazing harmonic overtones. Yeah. And it is a whole different world.
Nice.
Yeah, there we go.
We'll just say thanks in advance to Tom Robinson, who says there is a lorry overturned on the M25 carrying guitar pedals. Police have said to expect delays.
Very good. Boom,
Thanks,
boom.
Tom.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you, Tom. Vad last letter. Hello from Norway. I got on the KOT waiting list in 2004 when it was my turn. I didn't have any money, but I kept the email, and on Friday I ordered one. 18 years ago.
That's
I can't
amazing.
believe there was a waiting list in 2004, was it?
That wouldn't surprise me.
My God.
Yeah.
My God. Tailwind Mechanics. Hello, Tailwind Mechanics. Episode idea. What about baritone guitars, specifically Joey Landreth and Ariel Posen style, down-tuned, and what pedals and amps to use to manage all that low end. I think that's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
I'm a big fan of them. I don't actually own one, but I always enjoy it when I play one.
The Super 6 isn't the baritone, is it?
The Fender Bass 6,
Is it a baritone?
well, technically yes, but no.
Okay. Because that's cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting distinction, actually.
Okay. Yeah, great idea for a show.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay.
I'm
Aren't
sure Rabia will send us one.
Yeah. Aren't they? They're out here, right?
I really like the Squire Jazzmaster one. Is really ace. The Dan Electro ones are ace. It's surprising how many records you hear him on, actually, especially country records.
Yeah. I got an email from
That's me
the
playing on a
guitar
country
player
record.
from the President of the United States of America.
No way. Was he
And-
going to the country?
To buy some peaches, eat some peaches, yeah. And because they used baritone guitars
Yeah,
back
right.
in the 90s, and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just had the most awesome guitar sound.
What about Primus? Does he use a...
No,
No.
he does. He's just ordered one.
And John Spencer Blues Explosion, no bass player, but John would quite often play a...
Baritone acoustic.
No, some weird-ass 60s Silvertone thing.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Judah Power! Blues Explosion! Russell Simmons! Blues Explosion!
Very good.
If you don't have Orange by the John Spencer Blues Explosion, go and get it forthwith. Some of the lyrics are a bit fruity, but that's okay. Thank you for that, Tailwind Mechanics.
Thank you, Tailwind.
Nina Head DJ.
Hey,
Hi.
bud.
With a heart. Hi. Back to you. Francois Roland. Or Francoise Roland. He says, glad to see you back. I missed my cue on the HRD episode. Hot rod. What does hot rodding mean in an amp circuit? And what is the lineage of the HRD? Is it blackface inspired or anything else? Also, I got my D&M drive and I love it.
Thank you.
Right, let's take that in line. What does hot rodding mean? It means modding an amp. It was most common, I would say, with Marshalls, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. Because that topology is shared between Marshall and Fender, right, from the old Bassmans.
Yes.
And
Has less to do with the later amps, though.
certainly now,
Yeah.
like, more challenging. But anything that's got the, with the eyelets and I think they still call those point to point, I think it became really popular with the silver face Fenders because a lot of people, the silver face Fenders were cheap and they wanted them to sound, and modding them to black panel specs was quite a relatively easy thing to do.
It's basically the mod to the amp would be to add more gain. So you would introduce a cascading gain stage. That was something they used to do to Marshalls. Change things like the input capacitor.
Yeah, change the tone stack.
Yeah, all of that.
stuff.
So it's basically
Yeah.
modding the amp to change its tonality. And hot rodding usually means adding gain. And it was a very famous thing they did to Marshalls back in the day. And there were significant modders who did that. Hot Rod Deluxe, the lineage started with the Blues Deluxe reissues. Now, I think I'm right in saying there was a guy named Richie Fliegler, and I think Richie Fliegler came from Marshall, and one of his projects was to sort of reinvigorate the middle of Fender's amp line, and what they came out with was the Blues Deluxe, which was a tweed-looking thing. It didn't sound very black panel to me. Didn't have that scoopy mid-range thing, and was certainly more usable at lower volumes in terms of the Blues Deluxe. Very different kind of amp. Also had an overdrive channel, which of course the black panel amps didn't have, etc., etc. That then morphed into the Hot Rod Deluxe, which I think was done by somebody else.
Right.
And and it's very different. The resulting amp is very, very different from a black panel kind of mid-60s, whether it's a deluxe or a super or a twin. A very different playing and tonal experience. Yeah. Hope that helps. And thank you for buying a D&M drive, Francois.
Yeah, thank you, Francois.
Michael Striano. Hello, Michael. He says, hello, D&M. Thanks for the years of info and love. You helped me find my amp, a Cartel Star.
Oh, cool. Wow.
6L6 and EL84 tubes in push-pull.
Nice.
Black panel through tweed and Vox Love. That sounds really, really, really cool.
Yeah. No, I've always wanted to hear EL84s and done in sort of that Class AB push-pull thing to see how loud you can get 4 of them.
Nice.
Be fun.
Nice. Congrats, Michael.
Yeah, well done.
Eagle Ray Rob. We know attenuators are a compromise. We know attenuators are a compromise, but what is your preferred attenuator when an attenuator is the tool for the job? Is it the Tone King, the Fryette, or what else?
I think the Tone King just sounds magic. I really, really like the Power Station.
Yeah.
I've always had great results with the Power Station. Power Station do a 100 watt now as well, with that you can switch the levels like in the Tone King.
Right.
So you can have, a solo boost. It's like really, really clever. The Tone King though, that's got that passive attenuation switch that you can switch between, minus 8 dB to, that's so
or you can
clever.
switch from an attenuated sound to no attenuation.
Yeah.
I think the important thing with it, because it changes the sound of the amp so much, and I think a lot of people really struggle to understand this because they think, well, hang on, how can it change the sound of the amp? All is it doing is it's attenuating. It does. It fundamentally changes the top end and the bottom end and the mid-range. So what can be quite good on an attenuator is to have some control over the resonance, i.e. the bottom end, the way that sort of is working with the cab, and the presence in the top end. One of the reasons we like the Tone King is because it has the latter. It's got a presence switch. The brilliant thing about the Power Station, is that what it's called?
Yep.
The Fryette is that it's got resonance and presence controls.
GitHub. Sorry.
It's really cool. Or of course you could just change the EQ on the amp. In the video coming next Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday, we attenuate the Princeton using a straight passive Palmer attenuator. Nothing on it at all. Doesn't even need any power. It's just purely passive, not reactive. Just a straight. What do they call it? There's a word for it. Resistive.
Okay. Yeah.
Attenuator, and it sounds totally fine. We did have to adjust the EQ on the amp quite considerably to make it sound the same. So yeah, different tools for different jobs. That if I'm absolutely hand on heart honest, the only reason we like using the attenuator is because the Marshall is just too damn loud to get it overdriving and cranked.
How did you go on? Because we filmed on Friday. How did you feel on Saturday?
I was surprisingly fine.
I was wiped out.
Were you?
After the drive home,
Yeah.
I felt like I'd been on a marathon because it was so loud.
Yeah, we played crazy loud actually with 2 amps, which is not massively sensible. But normally, Dan and I talk about this, and the next day we usually feel tired if we've had a hammering day of loud amps. I'm very careful. Catherine and I watch a lot of TV late in the evening, and I'm just waiting for the day when I ask her to turn it up, and she's like, "What do you mean it's loud enough already?" Right. I always wait for her to want to turn it up.
Okay.
And at the moment, Catherine's got dog ears. Basically, she's crazy sensitive to noise.
Right.
Feels physically sick with bass and stuff like that. She's super sensitive to sound pressure level. So we are at the same level of top end hearing.
Okay.
Which is astonishing after 30 years of playing loud guitar amps.
So I went and had, I think I mentioned this before, I went and had my ears tested a few months ago. and because I had this reoccurring ear infection in my ear, and then that cleared up. I thought I just want to go and get everything checked.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, it's the best test I've seen in a long time."
Wow.
I thought, okay, great. Just want to double check. And there are days where we have this hammering, right? And it's almost as if the next day I'm more sensitive.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Really weird.
Yeah, I guess so. Don't want to be flippant about it because obviously people do suffer with hearing loss and it is a real
Totally.
nightmare for people who have to go through that. But
Yep.
I don't know. I think clearly there can be damage done that you don't realise is being done.
Of course.
But whenever we get really loud, if I'm ever anywhere near any pain, I just back off on the guitar and we just turn it down, and that's all the way it is. Actually, what was I doing the other day? Vacuuming. I was doing some hammer drill this morning, drilling some kitchen cabinets.
That's worse than anything.
And I was
power
thinking,
tools.
some of these, and like when the dog's going mad, people are screaming, kids. Some of those noises are way louder than loud guitars.
Louder. Yeah, screaming toddlers.
Yeah.
Far out.
Anyway. Hey guys, says Chris Learney. Leamy.
Hello, Chris.
Hello, Chris. He says, oh, blimey, Chris, thank you for your generosity as well. It's incredibly generous. He says, hey guys, I appreciate the Buffer show. I finally feel like I get it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Good on you. Thanks for taking the time on that. Mick, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the 2-rock combos and which you like and why. I'm looking to upgrade from a Hot Rod Deluxe and will be gigging clubs and recording. I haven't played that many combos. I'm just trying to remember. I've got a feeling that one of the ones I loved the most was the Studio Pro 35, which was one of the first 2-rocks I'd got to spend any quality time with, and that was great. And that no longer exists, but it has morphed into the Studio Pro series. And I think in terms of, if you could ever use the phrase bang for buck with 2-rock, that's it. That is such a fantastic amp.
Yeah.
There's something about the 100-watt TS1 1x12 format that is right, because it's a Dumble type, an overdrive special type.
Right.
And there is something about that 112 Dumble thing that I think is just right. But I don't think you can go wrong. The Burnside is a great amp, actually, often overlooked in the 2-rock range because people tend to go for the traditional clean or the more sort of what you associate with that John Mayer sort of sound. But the Burnside is a really, really, really fantastic combo. As is always the case with amps of that caliber, it's always surprising how much noise you can get out of a 112. How massive they sound.
Yep, totally.
So I think you can be pretty safe throughout the range. They just, well, as you know, I'm a fan. I just think they make wonderful, wonderful guitar amps.
Yep. Just a shout out to Hobo Roadie, who's come up with some really interesting comments today. This is really interesting. Blood pressure is the most dangerous thing for hearing loss if you wear earplugs and such. Very interesting. Wow. Yeah. Anyway, they just said some really interesting things today.
Well, it's it's a system, innit?
Yeah.
He said, I'm sure I will graduate medical school next week. Rob Symington. Hello, Rob. Rob Symington says, happy Monday, lads. I watched your video on Talkbox and vocoders a few days ago. I've never laughed so hard in a long while. Keep it up. All the best. That was a surprisingly humorous day.
Oh, that was funny.
Well,
that
was
was
like
funny.
Wonderwall or something.
Oh, a Norwegian Wood?
Actually, on a more serious note, there was a really fabulous, I think it was BBC 4 doc, or it might have been, to be fair, it might be Netflix. It doesn't matter. It was about autotune.
Oh, wow.
A really, really wonderful documentary about autotune.
You believe in
yeah.
life. Yeah, right.
Because everyone thought it was. Well, I always assumed it was a vocoder, but it wasn't. It was autotune.
Right.
We're talking about Cher, the song "Believe." Anyway, yeah, that was good fun that day. Ian Webber, hello Ian, gents. I'm thinking about which amp to pair with a matchless C30.
Anything.
What are your thoughts on the Tone Master? Oh, he says Tone Master Imperial. I think you mean Tone King Imperial Mark II. Or an Audio Kitchen Little Chopper. I would like it to be tough to pair with a small 7-watt like the Audio Kitchen. Yeah, it would. So could a little amp pair with the big matchless?
Absolutely. The Audio Kitchen is a fantastic shout because that thing is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it's not going to have the headroom that the matchless has got, but it really depends how you run the matchless.
Yeah.
You will love the show a week on Friday where Dan takes us through his 2-amp Odyssey. This is a new direction.
I hope you like this.
Where we pair the matchless with the Lazy J.
Yep.
J20, and we pair it with a Princeton. So it might offer some food for thinking for you.
Yeah. Really fascinating.
Yeah. If you crank that matchless up loud without using the master volume and it's running with headroom, the little chopper might have some trouble keeping up. But there aren't that many people who play that loud anymore.
No.
So if
C30 is ridiculously loud.
use it at sort of normal volumes, the chopper will be great, and the Tone King will be also great. What's really cool about it is they've got very differing EQ curves and sort of as the sort of standard sound, so you find that the two will complement each other very nicely.
Yeah, but the great thing about the C30 is it works with so many amplifiers. It's a really lovely amp to pair with other stuff.
Fabulous thing.
Really
Fabulous thing. Non-aligned videos, we know all about that. Annoyingly, so we use these Atomos Ninja recorder things, right, which take an HDMI feed out of our cameras. One of our cameras is a bit older than the other, so the HDMI isn't quite as fast to come out as the other one. So it's always 3 frames behind the audio.
That's hilarious.
Whereas the other one is fine, and it catches me out on a regular occurrence. Anyway, non-aligned videos, that's what made me think of that. Do you have any advice on how to deal with tube amp headroom degradation over the length of long gigs? How very interesting.
That is very interesting.
Yeah, so you start off the night. Now, I think there's a bit
because I've got something.
Go on in.
All right. I thought that this was going on, but in the night, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I recorded a gig, and I got home, I played it, and my sound was exactly the same at the start of the set as it was at the end of the set.
Yeah.
It was my hearing
You were getting pummeled.
that was degraded by the end of the night.
Yeah. I do think that, especially if you're playing somewhere really hot, there's every chance that your amp's going to get less headroomy the more you push it. But I think I'm with Dan. I think that may come as much from you notching up a setting or two on the pedals.
Yeah. Just to
hitting the guitar harder.
Record your set
And see if it
and
is
keep
actually doing
keep
that.
it consistent.
Yeah.
As in, put it put your recorder wherever. Just
Yeah.
leave it there, and just see how bad it really is.
Other than that, power conditioner and a cooling fan
Yep.
should keep it running the same.
Yep. Fans are a really good shout.
Yeah. Dan Cobley. Hello, Dan.
Hello, Dan.
He says, my very well-loved 2002 Taylor 810 is going in for a full refret, new nut and saddle, and some crack repairs. How hard is it going to be to play an intonated guitar again? My frets are embarrassing. That is a blooming great question. You had that
Oh man.
issue with red?
I did. I had some big frets put in red, and I couldn't play it. I was all over the shop, and ended up taking the big frets out and putting the slimmer, taller frets, 6105s, back in, and all the problems went away instantly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a thing.
Yeah, you do. Dan laughs a lot because I can't use guitar tuners. Or at least they take me so far, and then I have to do a bit of manual tuning
Yeah.
at the end. I think most people are similar, and that's because you play with your specific intonation, right?
Yeah.
And you learn how to play with your specific intonation down the years.
I mean, to me, everything is a compromise because it always sounds out of tune.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like, okay, well, I can make that work.
Yeah.
I never hit that and go, that sounds bang on.
Well, the amount of latitude you've got in simply finger pressure is ginormous, to use our favourite word from today. And I think it's certainly one thing that separates out the players that I really gravitate towards, and the ones who put my teeth on edge are the ones who intonate just perfectly in the way that they play.
Yep. And
it's got much less to do with the setup of the guitar than we all want to think.
My favourite intonation story, Guthrie Govan is playing for
Stephen Wilson.
No, Hans Zimmer.
Ah.
And he's playing this amazing guitar solo, right, with his floating tremolo. String breaks in the middle of the solo on stage with Hans Zimmer. Everything goes sharp. So he whips out a slide and then finishes the solo playing slide.
Yeah.
And you've got to watch for the moment when the string breaks. It's like, boom, bang.
He's there.
He's there. Because if you didn't know that's what's going on, so that's a guy whose intonation, it's not about where it's putting his fingers, it's about what he's hearing.
Yeah.
And a skill
It
to
is
be able to
amazing.
listen when you're playing is it sounds ridiculous, but boy oh boy.
You might find, Dan, that it's the opposite is the case. You might get it back and go, wow, this guitar is so in tune, and I'm enjoying it much more than I was. That was definitely the case with Blue. When I had Blue refretted, it got to the point where I couldn't play it anymore, and I was really starting to hate it because the frets had got so bad and the nut had got so worn. And then when it came back, it was like, oh, here's my guitar again.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will be your experience. Chris Collins Guitar. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
He's in Hong Kong. He says, I love the show. A bit too much, says the wife.
Much too much.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of TPS widows out there, aren't there? I'm looking for a dual pedal, transparent overdrive and Marshall in a box. I have the Boss JHS JB2 and it's close.
Interesting.
But no cigar. Thank you so much. Okay, so transparent overdrive and a Marshall in a box.
What you want is what's the green pedal?
Yeah, the brown protein.
The brown protein.
Brown protein. The other one I would recommend, which might not be as obvious, is the Kingtone Dualist. Because even though one side is a tube screamer, which isn't ostensibly transparent, it does have the glass switch, so you can add loads more high end back in on top of that mid boosty sound, and that is really great. The Kingtone Dualist.
Right.
Also, seeing as you've got a foot in the JHS camp, check out their two dual overdrive pedals. One is called the Double Barrel and one is called the Sweet Tea. And I never remember which is which. I think it's the Double Barrel that you want because the Sweet Tea's got one's kind of, this much gain and the other one's that much gain. Read the descriptions. One's got the AT in it, hasn't it?
Yes.
Or what was before the AT?
The ZS.
This thing with the 4 knobs on it.
Yeah. The Angry Charlie.
Yeah. And that's, although you've already got that in the blues driver. Yeah, interesting. Check out Jam's 2 dual pedals, Lucy Dreamer Supreme and the...
Yes, that's a great shout actually, because
that is really
great.
really good. Double Dreamer and the Lucy Dreamer Supreme. Check those out. But I would say you probably don't need to look too much further than the brown protein.
It's so good. Whenever we put that on for a show, it's like, oh yeah.
There's Blues Breaker on one side and a
ODR one
on the other. So it's a pretty cool thing. Let's see. of doing a train coming into the station. Watch my stuff. He says buffers rule. Now spell AC/DC. We had him earlier. Anything ADDC is good. Says watch my stuff. Scott Copeland. Hello, Scott. Have you ever tried a Shins music pedal? I just got the Dumbloid Twin and it's awesome. Always love the show. Yes, I have, and I've played the Dumbloids and I really like them.
Right. Is it the iridescent case one?
They're various finishes, but yes, I think so. Yeah, I think Anderson's did them for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I remember it from.
Yeah, really cool. I really liked it. Really liked it. Brian Garcia.
Hey,
Last
Brian.
one tonight. Hello, Brian. Hi, D&M. Great to have you back. I'm hoping to get a Harmonious Monk soon for my new board. Thanks, Brian.
We hope you do too.
Cheers and thank you for the endless tonal education. Well wishes to your son, Dan.
Ah, thank you. He's absolutely fine.
Very glad COVID didn't affect you all too greatly.
I mean, apart from not travelling for 2 years and all that stuff.
Well,
But, however,
We
we're
have our
well
health.
and healthy and very, very, very grateful for that. Yeah.
Simon Duncan wants to know. Hello, Simon
Hello,
Duncan.
Simon.
He wants to know why we stopped using the Analog Man sun faces. I loved hearing those. And please do a JTM versus Princeton Deluxe versus AC15 versus SV20 versus High Watt 20 versus Marshall MG series. Just the first three. He wants to hear a JTM 45 with Princeton and an AC15.
We can do that.
That'd be great.
Yep.
We should get a JTM 45. I think we'd end up using it much more than the Plexi.
I'm surprised we don't.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Maybe we could get someone to build one for us, like a proper eyelet board, proper one.
Okay.
Wonder if Chris would make us one at Rift.
Yeah. What's Dennis Kyle up to?
Not much. Why don't we use sun faces? I do use my sun face.
Yeah.
I think I usually go for the JHF one, the Hendrix one, because ultimately it is my favourite one, especially in the way it cleans up. We found a very naughty little surface mount component in there, didn't we? That's just on the other side of the board, which must account in some way for why it cleans up so well. So you look at the top of the board and it's all like, you know, old school. If you've ever looked in a fuzz face, you know what they look like. Then underneath, a little surface mount. I don't know whether it's a resistor or a capacitor or what it is.
There's a little resistor on there.
Looks like a speck of dust.
That's massive, that one on there compared to the other ones. Yeah.
Do you think it might be an input resistor in the way that Analog Man's got the variable
Yeah,
one?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think it is.
yeah. Well, we love our sun faces. We're lucky enough to have a few.
My Analog Man Sunface is my go-to fuzz pedal. It's just wonderful.
Yeah.
I think with my new board, trying a bunch of stuff, but I can see with my new setup now, I'm going to go back to using that. Yeah. But his fuzzes.
DMAC wants to know, I was wondering if a new Tumnus would add to or be redundant to my MXR sugar drive I currently own.
Yes, no, it would not be redundant.
Yeah, very different things.
Very different thing.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy that. Hang on. Sugar drive? That's not a Klon type, is it?
No.
I think it might be.
It's
in there.
no. The sugar drive is the Isn't that
Isn't it like the mini version of the Geisha?
No.
Clear and transparent overdrive up to full boosting blown tube distortion. Yeah, no. Well, it's certainly not a Klon type with that description.
No.
Yes, get it, we say. Yeah, good.
Very good.
Very good.
Mike is saying sugar drive is the Klon.
Oh, right. Well, it sounds like it's got more gain. What pedal should I use to brighten up a dark Strat neck pickup, says R. Scott Johnson.
Mushroom says it's the Timmy. I think it's
buffering. No, the
separate.
Timmy's actually called the Timmy.
Yeah, the MXR Timmy's. They've done a Timmy version called Timmy.
Yeah, R. Scott Johnson, try a buffer to brighten up that dark Strat neck pickup. Or indeed, a clon. Good. Good. I think we're done. We'll finish on Sean Brooks. Sean says he's trying to decide between a Princeton and a Deluxe. I just watched your video on it. Thoughts on the Princeton with the 12-inch Cannabis Rex speaker?
Oh, man, okay. So here, my after living with the Princeton for a while, it is fantastic with the speaker upgrade. As it is, it's still a great amplifier, but don't look for any more. It's not a massive clean amplifier. You know what I mean? It's got its own thing going on.
I think it's dependent on how loud you play.
Exactly that. So what's really far out? Check this out. Just. Oh my goodness! I'm gonna just tilt the camera down so the good people can see this.
You keep telling your silly Princeton story, Dan.
Yeah, the Princeton's really good, but as long as you're not looking for a thing with loads of headroom. Hang on. So keep it on that and check this out. It's half closed back, half open back. How flippin' amazing is this thing? I feel like I'm in an 80s ad in Guitar Play magazine.
I think with the Princeton and the Deluxe, it depends how loud you play. I think a Princeton with a 12-inch speaker for normal volumes is a
great.
wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. Because the Deluxe, for me and Dan anyway, it just doesn't work below 5.
Yeah.
And that is loud. So
Yeah.
I would go with the Princeton personally. I think it sounds more urgent. But if you need a bit more headroom, then the Deluxe.
Yeah.
But I think a Princeton with a 12 is cool. Meantime, I got Paul at Zilla to make this. This is a 19-inch rack case to take the Mesa 5050 stereo power amp. This is a blanking panel in the Vox grill cloth that when I finally do buy my 2290, it can sit in there.
How many fake crocodiles had to die for you to have this covering?
Many fake crocodiles, Dan. And then this is a 4x12 built in the D style.
It is massive. It is absolutely enormous.
The dimensions for which we don't really know, so it's a bit of a guess, is the truth. And hopefully Mr. D won't be too unhappy about that.
But compared to the normal 4x12...
It's quite a lot bigger than a regular Marshall 412. I mean, to be fair, it is.
Look at that.
It is on. It is on some.
Yeah,
legs,
but
it's not quite that big.
Yeah, but it's massive.
But it is pretty enormous. Anyway, it doesn't work yet because when it turned up, two of the speakers were. I bought the speakers from Jensen in Italy, and they are the Raptor 100-watt ones, which I really like the look of. But two of them got damaged in transit. Really interesting. I took one out of the box and I tapped the cone. It was like, and it just like that doesn't.
Oh,
and then I looked at it and it had taken a whack. So two of the speakers are dead. Two are in there, but Paul sent me the wrong machine bolts to put the to put them in. So I rounded two off. So when I've got a bit more time,
does that mean you got to take the bolts out of the?
I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like this has gone badly and now it's going really badly, so I just need to stop.
Okay.
But I might actually put some WGS 12Ls in the bottom, seeing as I've got them here. And it's going to be left-right stereo.
That's mega. I cannot wait to hear it.
It's insane. We did want it because we got the first experience day happening this Friday. And I wanted it ready for that, but unfortunately it's not going to be ready for that. So.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, there's the. I've been talking about the utterly insane stereo wet dry rig for a little while.
There it is.
Ready for the first pub gig, Dan?
Oh, mate, that's so good.
Thank you very much to Paul at Zilla for doing it. It's been a labour of love.
It really does look beautiful.
Yeah.
It's done a mega job.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, who doesn't want a Dumble style croc skin cab with Vox grill
I
cloth?
love that you've done that.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want that? Okay.
Thank you so much for joining
Thanks
us.
for being with
Have
us.
a fantastic week. And so this week we are having a close look at the fabled boss. Well, say fabled, it's not exactly a fable. Walk down to your local guitar store with 60 quid and you can grab
It does
one.
exist.
It's the Boss DS1.
What's so good about the DS1?
Brilliant. Thanks, everyone. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you on Friday, then see you back here next Monday.
Goodbye.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.